Good morning. Join us today as we discover how wealth empowers.
Now it's time for Gary Lawrence Live with Dr. Gary and his co-host, Paul Frederecks. Dr. Gary is a personal development coach, motivational speaker, and author. He coaches professionals, individuals, as well as entire families. Dr. Gary wholeheartedly believes successful people are not people without problems. They are people who have learned to solve their problems. Paul Frederecks lends his expertise to the program in the area of personal and business development. The next 30 minutes will be a time of encouragement, education, and entertainment. Take a few minutes to tune into Gary Lawrence Live. Enhance your personal and professional life and learn how to make a life, not just a living. Let's join Dr. Gary and Paul now.
Welcome to Gary Lawrence Live. Good morning. I'm Paul Frederecks, the co-host. I invite you to join Dr. Gary Lawrence and me as we are on a mission. What is that mission? Providing you the tools so you can achieve optimal, emotional, spiritual, and financial freedom, with the underlying principle being, if you're in financial bondage, there's mental and emotional turmoil in your life. You deserve better. And as you listen to us today, you'll learn how you can stop being a circumstantial creator and become an intentional creator. Dr. Gary?
And Paul, my heart goes out to people, especially Christian people, who live in the land of just enough. The scriptures tell us in Psalms 23 that he guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. But here's what happened. Here's what happens. People go through conflicts. They go through challenges. They go through trials. And they just kind of sit down and say, this is my setting down place. This is where I give up. And they've got just enough coming in to keep them comfortable while they're broke. Their needs are supplied. They're grateful. But there's literally nothing extra, nothing to accomplish their dreams. And here's what God is saying. He says, I did not breathe my life into you to live in the land of barely enough. I didn't create you to live in the land of just enough. And I want our audience to understand that when you're going through these trials, these conflicts, these challenges, they're just seasons. They're just tests. They're not permanent. And you don't have to put your stakes down. You're just passing through it. It's only temporary. And God has promised a greater land for them. He has a place of abundance, a place of more than enough, a place that's flowing with provision, not just one time, but a continual increase, and a land that's flowing with plenty. And my heart goes out to people who don't realize that they can get out of their past into the present so they can create their future, Paul.
That's right.
And to help you and I, help our audience get out of the land of the past into the present so they can create their future. We have an exciting fellow as our special guest today, coming once again all the way from Chicago, Illinois. And his name is David Cole. He's a 37-year-old entrepreneur, but he used to be a college professor.
That's right.
And he was teaching computer information systems. Boy, that sounds exciting. But anyway, what he was doing, he was helping adult students acclimate to the school in the digital age. But here's the issue. He was holding 3 jobs, working 14 hours a day. And he and his wife, Brody, they had the blessing of giving birth to their son, Sebastian. And David knew he wanted to play a key role in his son's life. And then all of a sudden, and we're going to hear from him, he found himself abruptly jobless. And I'm going to let him talk about it. Hey, David Cole, what a joy to have you on as our guest today.
Thanks for having me.
I think your wife had a little bit more to do with birthing Sebastian than you probably did.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, David, you are an entrepreneur. You're doing real estate investing deals now. You're part of the Renatus family nationwide. But tell us, where were you? What was going on in your life? And how did you handle the fact that all of a sudden you're laid off from that college?
Oh, well, shocking news. I mean, I was planning on leaving, but leaving one of the jobs, not the teaching. I loved the teaching. But yeah, handling it. Oh, I drove home, right, and I just talked to my wife about it. It was the first person I called on the drive home, and we just walked through it, and she told me, well, that wasn't meant to be.
Right.
Not God's plan. We wanted to be a stay-at-home dad. Now you really have that opportunity to be that.
Well, how long were you with that college?
Oh, let's see here.
Just
I
approximately.
think 8 years. I think it was around 8 years I was with the corporation, between the teaching and the managing and everything.
And you had 3 different jobs underneath that corporate umbrella, you told us. Is that correct?
Yes.
Wow.
Wow, and you were working 14 hours a day.
Yeah, roughly, maybe a little more sometimes, but yeah.
Well, let me ask you this, David, and I'm just curious because I've never worked for someone else, okay? I've always been in the ministry outreach, and, of course, now I'm with Renatus, and so grateful to God for the blessing to be part of the Renatus family and the Renatus Nation. But what's it like working for someone else 14 hours a day? I mean, did they send you a thank you note once a month and tell you how much they appreciated your gifts and your knowledge?
No. Once a year I got a Christmas gift from them. That's about it.
Oh, my goodness. What was that, a fruit cake?
Well, one year it was a dartboard.
Why a dartboard?
I don't know. Another year it was a little sand sculpture, so you could draw in the sand and put it on, like a Zen type thing. Put it on your counter.
Oh, no Jelly of the Month Club?
No.
Well, what was it like working for someone else, David?
Oh, the same. Well, working for someone else was just. It's been almost 3 years now, and it's getting easier and easier to forget how it was.
It's getting easier and easier to forget, huh?
But no, it's frustrating. Always having to make sure that you're at work at a specific time.
Mm-hmm.
5 minutes late, you got tons of stress building up on you. Trying to worry about how I'm getting to the job, how I've got to dress, make sure I buy certain clothes, and if you don't buy those certain clothes, you're not going to have the job. Because some people have uniforms. I had to wear a tie and a suit, and that was my uniform. And,
right.
All sorts of rules and regulations that just made it more and more difficult to do. And then interfering because they wanted me to work. I worked Sunday through Thursday.
Wow.
So my Sundays, which were supposed to be my God days, I stopped going to church as much as I used to because that's what I had to do for work.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so it interfered with my faith. And that's, you don't have a choice when you work for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
Took away my choice.
Wow.
Now, how much time went in between you getting the notice from your employer and being introduced to Renatus?
That was about, I'd like to say about 2 months, roughly.
Okay.
So it was a couple months before my son was born that I found Renatus through a gentleman named Michael Bonk.
Oh, yeah.
He contacted me off of Monster.com, and I actually didn't even realize my Monster resume was live. I mean, I had been interviewing for other jobs as trainer jobs, things that I could work from home, and corporate training things, but I didn't realize my Monster resume was live, and I got a call from him, and I thought it was just another trainer job because he wanted me to come in and interview with Scott Rowe to talk about a training position and a possibility of opening my own office up. And I'm like, okay, sure. And then that's what brought me into the office to talk with Scott Rowe.
Boy, you didn't know what was ahead of you, did you?
I did not.
I know it. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Gary Lawrence Live, and Paul Frederecks is my co-host, and our special guest today is David Cole, coming to us from Chicago, Illinois. And we've got so much information we're going to share with you. Now, as Paul said in the opening of our program, he and I are on a mission. We want to do everything we can to position you to learn how to gain your emotional, your spiritual, and your financial freedom. with the underlying premise being if you're in financial bondage, we're guarantee you there's mental and emotional conflict going on. Of course, Paul, you and I have both been through bankruptcy.
Right.
You know, when I was 64 years old, I went through bankruptcy. I went through foreclosure. We lost everything. That's after almost a 25-year career in our Christian marriage and family counseling clinic. And I'll tell you what, when I was going through bankruptcy, we lost our good credit. We had no savings. I mean, we lost everything. And it was like looking over the precipice of poverty. And it scared me, Paul. I don't do broke. B-R-O-K-E is not in my language, okay? And I'm just so grateful that I was introduced to Renatus. Now, what is Renatus? Well, Renatus is a Latin term for rebirth. It is the premier real estate investing education system in America. Paul, tell them about our event this week.
Absolutely, folks. If you call Dr. Gary today, we're going to give you his number in just a moment. So get a pen or a pencil and a piece of paper. You're going to come to an event that absolutely no charge to you. First of all, let me just say that Dr. Gary and I, we'll pay your cover fee. We take care of that. There's no problem there at all. But you got to call us. Now, when you come to this, you're going to meet some great people, people like Dr. Gary, people like myself, people like David Cole, positive, energetic, people that really enjoy, want to make a life change. And you're going to hear an opportunity that's going to rock your world. And I really mean rock your world, because you're going to find out it's not just about real estate. It's about owning your own business and creating your own destiny, if you will, financially. But you got to call Dr. Gary. So here's his number. It is 602-315-0844, 602-315-0844. Check him out on wealthempowers.com as well, and you can see some great things there on his website.
And, Paul, when they call, they're going to get my voicemail. So I'm going to tell you, folks, for your sake, not my sake, but for your sake, leave a message with your name and your phone number so I can get back to you. David Cole's our guest from Chicago. David, I've got to ask you, you were abruptly laid off. You had been working 3 jobs for the same corporation, the educational college that you were with. Did that scare you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, anytime, I think, in your life where you don't know what's going to happen next, or you don't know where the money is going to come from, it's scary.
Right.
I was making, between the 3 jobs, I think I was making over $90,000 a year.
Wow. Yeah,
We own our own home, and my wife makes a good amount of money as well, but I didn't know how we were going to make ends meet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to replace that kind of cash.
Well, now, how did Brody handle the situation?
She handled it very calmly. I'm usually the calm voice in the life, but she took on that role, especially when I left that void of the calmness, and she just told me to take a couple of breaths. She reminded me of my goals, and my goals was not to keep working for that company. How I was always upset and frustrated with the company, and she just put me right back on the right track and saying, "Look, let's just move forward."
Right.
Well, one of the principles Paul and I teach is everyone needs to stop being a circumstantial creator and become an intentional creator. In other words, live life on purpose. Make your choices. Create your own new financial platform. How would you respond to that principle we teach? What do you think of that?
I think that's spot on, actually. I mean, if you're just reacting to what's going on, then you're letting the world control you.
Right.
If you're anticipating, you're preparing, and you're planning, things don't always go your way, but at least you're taking control of it, and you're making the most of the bad situation.
You're listening to David Cole on our radio program today with Dr. Gary Lawrence. And David Cole, what we talked about living on purpose, Dr. Gary brought that up. What is your purpose? What is your why? When you look at what you're doing now, what gets you out of bed and just motivates you, put some serious octane in your tank?
At this point, my why is actually my family. My family and our aspirations for travel. We love to go Nicaragua. I taught from St. Lucia. I taught from Mexico. I taught from wherever we went. And now that I have a child, I want him to have a life where he can grow up and see the world from an open perspective, where race is not an issue, where language is not a barrier. And we even have aspirations to travel the world on our sailboat, teaching him, basically homeschooling or boat schooling him all around the world.
That sounds cool. Okay, so anyway, about 2 months after you were laid off, you were introduced to Scott Rowe. Now, all of us, I mean, Paul and I both know Scott Rowe personally, and you didn't know that, but you were in for a culture shock. Is that fair to say?
That is very fair.
Well, Paul and I, we host the Investor Business Forum every week here in Scottsdale, and we love it when our audience comes and visits our events. But what was it like? Can you remember back in 2012 when you first met Scott Rowe? What was it like being with that dude?
He had this air of confidence across the table from me.
Sure.
Fast-paced, and I do say cocky, but cocky where he could back it up. Though.
Yeah, cocky good, right?
Cocky good, yes. And that really impressed me, coming from the corporate environment and then seeing a guy with a former corporate background who is still laid back and very open to talk with.
Right.
Yeah, and his wife, Nancy, she is another person, isn't she?
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
She's an awesome lady. We love Scott and Nancy Rowe. And so what was it about Renatus that really captured your attention and you decided, hey, I can embrace this? Because now you've gone from being a college professor to learning how to become a successful, sophisticated real estate investor.
Well, for me, it was the fact that I had tons of opportunity. It was up to me on what route I took.
Mm-hmm.
I got in it originally because I wanted to open my own business up, and I wanted to be able to teach and train again, and I wanted to get up in front of the group like Scott did every week.
There you go.
And so I made that one of my big goals, and I have accomplished it. I actually get in front of a group every other week.
That's great.
Here in Chicago.
That's perfect.
And so that was the biggest motivator for me, is I could get the piece of my corporate life that I loved, I can get that back and still stay home and take care of my family.
Wow.
Well, and David, the bottom line is God had prepared you for the Renatus experience. Would you agree with me?
I would.
Yeah. And, there's a lot of people that Paul and I talk to on a weekly, monthly basis. They'll say, well, I've been trained to do thus and such, or I've been trained to do this or that. And what they don't realize is they have knowledge and gifts that once they become part of the Renatus nation and really get focused and become part of the fabric of our culture, that knowledge and those gifts and those strengths that they have just kind of intertwine with everything we do. How would you respond to that?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the intertwinedness, I totally agree with, because It all becomes like a big ball of string. It all moves together, and you can't break it apart. It becomes part of you, and I agree.
That's fantastic. Hey, David, real quick, what did Scott Rowe say to you that prompted you to say, you know what, I'm going to do this?
Yeah, I want to hear this.
We're all laughing.
To be honest, I think it was a combination of everything. I mean, he told me I could get my $92,000 back, or he told me, this is what I've made. You can easily make that kind of money. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't really even that. I went to that, and then I went to the follow-up, and then I brought my wife out for the Super Saturday that same week.
Well, was a Super Saturday her first exposure?
Yes, that was her first exposure.
Oh, okay.
So she was very skeptical.
Yeah.
And she heard from Steve Saul while we were there.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the first lines he said was, do not lie. As real estate investors, the point is to do not lie,
mm-hmm.
and be honest and upfront at every chance.
Right.
When he mentioned that, boom, she was totally engaged, and she was sold on the spot. ready to move forward with our lives. And I was really super happy about that, because I had already went through 2 exposures, and I was excited and pumped up, and Super Saturday was pumping me up even more. And so then we were both on the same page, and it was great.
Ladies and gentlemen, you listen to David Cole, and I'm Paul Frederecks, the host of, or actually the co-host, sorry about that, of Gary Lawrence Live. And we want to engage with you. Dr. Gary, why don't you tell them about that?
Well, Paul, we're hosting another Investor Business Forum right here in the Valley this week. And ladies and gentlemen, we want to invite you to be our personal guest. There's not going to be any cost to you. We've got you covered. And I encourage you, if you've been even considering the slightest possibility of making a change in your financial directions in life, you need to give us a call. You need to come and experience the Investor Business Forum with Renatus. Now, I'm going to give you my phone number in just a minute, but you're going to have to call me to make that happen. And all we're going to do is get acquainted. You cannot bring your checkbook or your credit card. Just bring yourself a great attitude and get ready to be repositioned in your life financially. Okay, here's my phone number. Write it down. It's 602-315-0844. That's 602-315-0844. David Cole's our special guest, and David, we've only got about 3 minutes left. In the information you sent Paul and I about yourself, you said, I wanted to contribute to the family's future by building systems that would allow my wife to join me, and the freedom that I was able to experience. What do you mean by that? You wanted to build systems.
Well, this is actually something that a gentleman named Justin Kane really started to introduce me to.
Right.
He's taken me on as my real estate mentor
Mm-hmm.
and partner on a lot of my projects. And he introduced me to developing systems. Systems such as, I have a 12-step system for buying a property.
Wow.
Where I literally go down the list of putting it into my spreadsheet and doing my research, all the way through putting in my offer, getting a rejection, and resubmitting a new offer, all the way down to getting the offer accepted. There's a 12-step system. And so everything in the business can really be simplified into step-by-step systems. And what I wanted to do is really refine that for me and my business so that I can train and teach other people to do what I'm doing, and eventually receive residuals or be the chairman of a major corporation of real estate. And that way I don't have to be the technician, as some people would call it, or the manager. I can just sit back and be the entrepreneur with the ideas and actually building the business instead of doing the hands-on work every single day.
Well, now, so you were about, let's see, that was about 3.5 years ago you got started, so you were about 33 or 34. So right. I didn't start my journey with Renatus until I was 64. Now, David, we've only got about a minute and a half left. What would you say from your heart to the heart of our audience about attending our Investor Business Forum as mine and Paul's guest? How valuable would that be for them?
Life-changing. It's a very valuable to attend these types of sessions. You will learn a ton about yourself, not just about this business. You'll see light bulbs popping off inside your head. It's time to do something, or I didn't even realize, but yeah, I want to do real estate, or I've always been interested in that, or I want to be a business owner. Things will pop off in your head, and so it's extremely valuable to get down to one of these events.
And the bottom line, David, is anybody can learn how to become a successful real estate investor. And I know there's people listening to us, they're saying, well, I don't have the money. You don't understand where I'm at. It's not a matter of where you're at, ladies and gentlemen. It's a matter of where do you want to go. Are you teachable and coachable? I want to say it like this. Change when left to chance gives birth to conflict. And if you don't change, things are not going to change. And the only thing that won't change is the fact that things will change. Success is not a destination. It's a journey. All that's given to anyone is given to you. Now listen carefully. Success is not final, but failure is not fatal. You are full of the power of success. And why do I say that? Greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. I'm Dr. G.
You've been listening to Gary Lawrence Live with Dr. Gary Lawrence, personal coach, motivational speaker, and author, along with co-host Paul Frederecks. Dr. Gary has personally coached over 20,000 people just like you and helped them identify, isolate, and eliminate conflicts in their lives. For your copy of Dr. Gary's book, Rejection Junkies, and for information regarding his coaching program and income opportunities, call 602-315-0844. That's 602-315-0844. Or visit his website, wealthempowers.com. That's wealthempowers.com. And remember this, the best way to predict the future is to create it. We wish you success.